Capture One just released a new beta with some new AI retouching features. They've billed this as everything you need from capture to delivery. These features are great. They mark the beginning of something. It's a public beta, so in your account, you can log into your account, download the beta, create a test session just to play around and see how these new tools will benefit you moving forward. They've also redesigned their website and introduced a new logo. There's rebranding, so I think that calls for a little change here as well. Okay, so before I open up a session in Capture One and dig into these new features, I want to take a look at some of the clips from their next Capture event and talk about some of the things that they said that I think are important and that stand out for me and are one of the reasons why, or actually many reasons why, I really like and appreciate Capture One. So the CEO Rafael Orta says,
many people think of Capture One as a software company, as a technology company. But what if we told you that we think of Capture One as a photography company?
He went on further to say that
there is some uncertainty about the future of photography. And because we also have a foot in the technology industry, we can see that there is a strain of folks in technology who seem to have a vision of the future of art without artists and photography without photographers. Now, this is not a vision that we share. We think this is a vision that is dark and it's ugly and it's scary and frankly, it's unacceptable. And we think that this is a future that would suck, that it would suck greatly. So we've decided that we're going to do the exact opposite at Capture One. We've decided that we're going to apply all our skills and all our abilities and all our energy towards building tools that help you create more, tools that you enjoy using, tools that you may call game changers, tools that you may even fall in love with.
That's my argument that I've been making for a couple of years now, ever since I discovered that Adobe is using our work to train its AI. Even though they claim they didn't, I've got proof. It's in a video that I posted. You may have already seen it. So Rafael was very clear to say that this is not a vision that they share. They don't believe in a world of art without artists or photography without photographers. So it's clear that everything that they do and the work that they do in bringing AI into their software is to help us do our job better and faster, easier, reduce our workflow, make our workflow a lot faster, but not stripping us out of the process. And this is what we want. This is what we as photographers want. We want to make the tedium much less. We want little tedium. We don't want lots of tedium. We want AI to reduce the tedium in our lives. Something that I noted later on was that it was said
that we train our own AI model. When we train these models, we use our own images and images that we have the rights for.
They're not training it on massive data from the internet or, your work. That was very clear that they do not train their AI models on our work. And I think that's very important. Being focused and dedicated towards making our lives better and reducing the stuff that just takes, like it used to take me 2 hours to, at a pixel level, retouch an image. I have my retouching pen here. It sits here on my desk, but I no longer have a tablet on my desk. I haven't used a tablet in probably a couple of years. I do my retouching with a mouse because the tools are so advanced and at a level where I don't need to be the person that's going in and doing things at a pixel level. If I have a commercial shoot that needs to be retouched, that's something that I will send out to a professional. I don't need to be doing that. If the client's going to be paying for retouching, they can do that. If the client is wanting me to do the retouching, especially if it's just a portrait client or headshots or something like that, and it's not a big commercial campaign, then Evoto is good enough. Capture One looks like it's heading down the path to take on Evoto. And I think that's a very smart move for them because when you look at a tool like headshot tools, which is used for queuing and file renaming and delivery of galleries to people at large events where a photographer might be shooting 300 headshots, they were tethering into Capture One because Capture One had a token that allowed you to rename the image file based on the contents of the clipboard. So Headshot Tools just adds content to the clipboard, and then it allowed you to rename your files. And then people were taking those images, uploading them, and then when people wanted retouching, they were doing the retouching in Evoto. But Evoto got smart. You can tether raw files into Evoto. They added tokens for file renaming that facilitated the type of clipboard capture that Headshot Tools uses into the renaming of their files, so people then did not need Capture One. They could do everything directly into Evoto. They could ingest the images. They could put out retouched images as, they're being delivered. So Evoto effectively made changes that eliminated Capture One from the process. And Capture One needs to not be eliminated from the process. What I would prefer is to have all of this stuff be able to be done in Capture One, which I already pay for, and I'm never not going to use because it's the best image processor on the planet. All right, so I want to dive into these new updates. And there are really just two. There's how sessions are built when you're setting them up, and AI retouching on faces. So the first change is to how sessions are set up and sort of organized in our library. You'll see this has been renamed shortcuts. And so we have our typical capture folder, selects, output, and trash. Then we have our session albums. That hasn't changed. There's still our albums and our smart albums. But now we have, instead of just going right to session favorites, we have session folders. And this is the hierarchical structure of the folders, and you can see the icons where this is the capture folder, and this is the output folder, and this is the selects folder, have been moved from the shortcuts panel up here down to the session folders. So when you're tethering and you have multiple folders set up, then you will want to change which folder is the active current capture folder and is collecting and sorting the images when you're on shoot, when you're on location. So when you go to create a new session, you are now met with a few more options in the dialog box. I'm just going to rename this session to give us a start here. In the beta, what this opens up to is automated method for capturing folders. We'll look at that in a minute. First, we're going to look at manuals. Let's say for a typical acting headshot session, I'm going to have two main folders. I'm going to have headshots and I'm going to have my slate shots. In my headshots folder, given the location where I am, I have my studio, and I also have a larger facility that I can use. So those would be outside, but I might also have other images that are inside that are more environmental. And so I would want a folder structure like this. And the delimiter here is the new line. So, as you can see, I've put these all on a new line, and that's going to delimit how the folder structure will be set up. One thing that you'll want to note right out the bat is that you have a hamburger menu here, and you can save this custom preset. And so I'm just going to click that, and we're calling this acting headshots. So now if I empty this out and I use this hamburger menu to do acting headshots, it's got the folder structure saved for me. The other way that you can do this, if you're on a commercial shoot, you have automated, or if you're in a studio when you're doing maybe e-com or something along those lines. And so what you can do is you create a folder. Capture One used the example of day. So if you have a multiple day shoot, typically commercial shoots run over multiple days. You can also say, I'm gonna sort it by location, and then I'm gonna grab a counter. So right now I have location 01. I've got the folder count set to 3, which means it's gonna create a location 01, a location 02, and a location 03 because the counter starts at 1. If I were to add a subfolder, let's say I'm shooting 4 scenes at each location, 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon. Then if I create this session, it's created the session with the capture folder having now the location, 3 different locations, and each location having 4 separate scenes. Now, if we open this session up in Explorer and I go into the capture folder, you will see that I have each of those folders. Each of the subfolders have been created as well. So Capture One is creating that entire folder structure for me. So now here is my problem. When you go to add a session, automated, is only available for the studio version. Something that's as simple as this, that a pro photographer might use on a commercial shoot, but not have need for all of the other features that are in the studio version. I think this is a really ridiculous decision. This is the wrong place to monetize. To deny people of that, that's such a simple little tool, because now all we're gonna do is we're just gonna create custom presets anyways, and then do it once and save it. So that's a little frustrating. That's a real point of frustration for me. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you is I've got a new tool tab. I've added this to my workspace in the way that I have my workspace set up, and this is called Retouch. I'm going to remove this and show you here. If you don't have that in your workspace, you just right click on the tabs area, and then you can add tool tab, and Retouch is there. Click and drag it to where you want it. You'll see right now the only tool in there is Retouch Faces. I'm going to save that workspace, and I'm going to save that as my default workspace. Now the Retouch Faces, you can see it has detected a face. If I click show detected faces, it shows which face. I can zoom in here on this horribly disfigured face and take a look at these tools. So we have blemishes, dark circles, even skin, which has two sliders, amount and texture. Texture is set as a default to 0, and you can see it can go into the negative. And then we also have contouring. And so this is where we're starting with AI retouching in Capture One. This is all there is. That's it so far. I have I don't have forehead wrinkles because I laugh so much and I have these big cheeks. I actually have these big wrinkles underneath my eyes like Nick Offerman. I also have these dark circles because I don't get enough sleep. So if I use the dark circle slider, you can see the tonality in the eyes completely changed, and we can see the difference by using the impact up and down, and this is similar to using opacity on a layer. Once we've applied all of these settings, we have an overall slider, the impact slider, to determine how much we want to put on that. Right now I'm going to leave it at 100 so we can see the difference in all of these sliders, and I'm going to do things at an exaggerated level. So looking at blemishes, I have this blood spot here. I've got another one here. I've got some age spots that are creeping in here. Someday I'm gonna get a blepharoplasty and get these eyes fixed, but for now we're just going to use the slider to address the blemishes on the face, and you can see it really makes this look really kind of plasticky when you go all the way up to the edge. This is going to get better. This is not great right now. It's going to get better, but we can control how much I want in it. Now my concern here is that the slider is really dealing sort of like with an opacity as opposed to granularity. What it appears to have done is figure out what does it need to do at 100, and it's really just sort of applying an opacity setting over top of that. Not my favorite process. Even skin, as this is, we all have these micro transitions within our skin. The color transitions here, you can see it, especially as we're aging. I've got a lot of redness, some yellowing in here. I would want to fix that with my skin tone tool and pull the redness out, the rosacea here, which has plagued me for years. If I click on even skin, we can start to see the change here. Now, if we start to double up, that looks a little plastic, a little unreal. Let's see if I can add texture back here. I don't want to lose texture in the skin. Nothing happens with the texture tool until even skin has been applied. Because the problem with applying even skin like this, it looks like it might be sort of doing a bit of a frequency separation here. We don't want to lose the skin texture. That's a big problem. That's why when retouching has been overdone and it looks plasticky, it's because we've lost the skin texture. The skin texture is so important. The Retouch for Me plugin for Photoshop are really good at maintaining the texture of the skin. Next, we can apply some contouring to my face, and you can see it's adding some shadow in here, in and around the cheeks. This is what gives us some contour here, but on a face like mine, doesn't really look right. It doesn't look great. I don't think it's doing a great job of contouring just yet. But again, these things are going to get better. This is a starting point. So if we take everything, add the blemishes, dark circles, amount, drop up some contouring, pull the texture up, we're going from here to here. That's really dramatic and doesn't look real. So that's why the impact slider then becomes very handy, so that we can start to just bring this into a point where once we start seeing, oh, that doesn't look real, back off and make our adjustments as we want them. Now, because this is dynamic and it can detect faces, if I then select other images of me and then I copy this over, I can either click here and you can apply what items that you want to copy over, or as I would normally do, just hit shift click and it's going to apply these changes to these other images as well. So you can see the changes have been applied to this image. You can see the difference there. Those are the tools. That's an introduction to the tools that have been added. The fact that the facial retouching is dynamic and done on a basis of recognizing whose face belongs to who and what settings were applied to which face is great. And that's exactly what we need moving forward. The other thing that stood out for me was when they said,
we have a team that we call 10X. Their vision is with every release to make your workflow 10 times faster.
This generally has been the case for portrait photographers. For other photographers, landscape photographers, product photographers, not necessarily the case. Although the AI masking, not the people masking, but being able to use the AI tool to go in and select objects probably has made things a lot better for product photographers and landscape photographers. But in the world of commercial, corporate, and portrait photography, there's been a lot of focus on Capture One, working towards taking market share from Adobe, which I am all for, given Adobe's practices over the last few years. And I think they need to get to a point where we can completely strip out Photoshop from the process. I hope we're on our way there and we will get to a point where we will see this software being the only thing that we need. But right now, it's not in any way, shape, or form able to eliminate Photoshop or Evoto from my workflow. But beyond that, I'm psyched about this current update because it's going to help me. It's going to make my work faster. So I'm happy about that. I like that my work is going to be reduced in this process. I like that when I send proofs out to clients, I'll be able to get rid of like some of the blemishes in their proofs. They have a better idea of what a finished image is going to look like. I hope you found this video helpful. Subscribe to the channel for more videos. I'm going to leave a playlist right here for you to go watch more videos about Capture One and tips and techniques that I have related to Capture One. So stick around and watch that. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.